Today I wanted to share with you some details about the diet that has helped me to overcome the pain and inflammation of RA. Now this whatever diet tips that I'm going to share with you, this will be useful to not only people suffering from RA but any kind of inflammatory disease or autoimmune disease, like psoriatic arthritis or ulcerative colitis or any other autoimmune disease. Sufferers can benefit from what I'm going to share today. And the other thing is, even people who want to lose weight can actually benefit from this, and people who have osteoarthritis and are trying very hard to lose their weight, because weight is a problem and people have osteoarthritis, especially if they have osteoarthritis of the knee, then losing weight is really something that they need to do. And a lot of my clients have this problem of weight associated inflammatory problems, and therefore this diet that I'm going to share with you is very useful in all those cases. So to begin with, what I recommend you do is start by eliminating a lot of the trigger foods. So essentially, you can do one of two things. You can either jump with all your, jump with both feet, dive in completely and eliminate all the potentially harmful things from your diet. And for that, I recommend just doing AIP, the Autoimmune Protocol, that is very well explained by Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, on the Paleo Mom website. Or you could also go to autoimmunewellness.com, and they have a lot of explanations about the AIP diet as well. I'll also share with you some slides on exactly what you need to avoid and what you don't, what you can eat. So do that. Follow the protocol strictly for a month. So essentially what you are avoiding in the AIP is dairy, gluten, and as well as all grains. No grains, including gluten, no dairy, and no nightshades. That means no tomato, no eggplant, no potatoes, or the nightshade spices like peppers, whole bell peppers, as well as your spices like chili peppers or any other kind of peppers. So you are completely avoiding that, as well as you're avoiding a lot of other spices that are seed based. So for a complete list of that, again, going to go to one of these sites that I mentioned, and you will get a lot of information there. Follow that protocol. So that's for people who feel they can do that, right? There are a lot of resources available for that AIP. But today's my talk, I really want to focus more on people who have challenges just doing the AIP. And here are those reasons for those challenges. AIP is really tough. It's a very restrictive diet. So it's not easy to just get started on AIP. For me, the way I was able to, do AIP is because I started gradually, unintentionally. Like it was just like I was trying different things. I know I first eliminated gluten, or rather I first eliminated dairy, then I eliminated gluten, and then I had eliminated all refined sugars and processed foods. So for me it was like a stepwise. I was doing all this because I was just trying, I was trying different things. I had not heard of AIP back then, and then I stumbled my way across AIP. And then by the time I saw AIP, I had already eliminated gluten, already eliminated dairy and sugars, and tomatoes also. So then it was only all the other things that I needed to eliminate, which included nuts, eggs, as well as all your nightshade spices, as well as nightshade plants. So it was an easier transition. So that's the reason I'm going to suggest another approach for people who are not able to go directly on complete AIP. There's another reason why some people are not able to go or do the AIP is because they are vegetarians. So in our Indian population, Indian community, there are a lot of people who are vegetarians, and so a lot of my clients are vegetarians, and so I cannot just put them on AIP, because the only proteins you won't have any proteins to eat if you are vegetarian. So you can have some lentils. Try to make dal along with vegetables, so that you add only little quantity of dal. And it's okay, because this is temporary. Don't worry that what's going to happen for your protein source. For 1 month you're not eating any proteins, how is that going to affect your health? Do not worry, because this is a temporary diet only for a month to reduce inflammation. So basically what I'm asking you vegetarians to do is to eliminate all those things that I have outlined, plus reduce your intake of dals, completely avoid your intake of beans. So don't take any chana or the chickpeas or any other kind of beans, like even kidney beans, etc. Eliminate that completely. The only protein source you should have are moong and moong dal. Moong is like the green lentils which are whole, and the split lentils from those green moong are called moong dal, and those are the only lentils you should be having. And you should have them only after, cook them only after soaking them at least for 8 to 10 hours. So before cooking you need to soak them overnight, or at least 8 to 10 hours, and then cook them in a pressure cooker. Make sure it's really cooked well, and that's what you have. So you can have these lentils in the form of khichdi. You can make little khichdi with rice and these lentils, and have that little by little, so that you're not consuming a lot. Your focus on this diet should be eating a ton of vegetables. So your plate should be filled with vegetables. So because you're eliminating or because you're not eliminating all other grains and gluten, you need to eat a lot of vegetables. And the other thing you need to do is also introduce a lot of good fat. That includes coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, as well as ghee. So these are things that you can introduce. In the protein source, another protein source I mentioned is that of quinoa. So again, now quinoa is also not allowed on AIP. However, this is modification of the AIP for people who are vegetarians, and I have personally had experience with myself as well as with some of my clients that they do okay with quinoa, especially in small quantities also, and if it is soaked and soaked in advance for a few hours, then they are really easy to digest, and they do not have and it's a good source of protein. So you can have quinoa in small quantities, a little bit. You cook and keep it, and then drizzle a little bit, sprinkle a little, not drizzle, sprinkle a little bit on your salads, etc. So then that way you will, get something substantial to eat. Additional things that I included in my protocol that accelerated my healing. So I included a lot of supplements too, and that's like a big topic in itself. So I will address that in a separate video. However, in this video, I wanted to point out some additional foods that have medicinal properties, and how I incorporated that into my diet as well, and they are really useful to reduce pain and inflammation. So the three main things are turmeric, ginger, and garlic. So all three have really high anti-inflammatory properties, and using them in your food is using them in your diet is really, really beneficial. And how to use them, I'll give you recommendations based on what has helped me. So early in the morning, when you wake up on an empty stomach, have I know not many people will like this, but trust me, this is very good for cleansing your entire digestive system, especially the large intestine, and getting rid of any dysbiosis or bad bacteria. So garlic, take one full clove of garlic, this big, chop it into tiny pieces and just swallow the whole thing with a half a cup of water. Use some water to swallow it. Make sure you chop it into tiny enough pieces so that you don't choke. I don't want you to choke, but do this regularly every single day for the 1 month that you start with this protocol. It will help to clear any dysbiosis that you have in your gut, because that's another thing that you need to do when you're trying to heal your gut. You're trying to add create an environment where your gut is healing, and one of the ways to heal it is by adding good bacteria and eliminating the bad bacteria. So this garlic will help eliminate the bad bacteria. And then the other things we'll do to add good bacteria include taking a probiotic supplement, as well as eating fermented foods. So fermented foods is the other thing that you need to add to your diet, like sauerkraut, beet kanji. The recipe for beet kanji is on my website. It's very easy to make. You just need to chop up beets and carrots and put them in a tall jar. Pour water in it. Pour some black salt as well as some mustard powder, and keep it in a at room temperature for 3 to 4 days until it's fermented, and then you can keep it in the fridge and drink this juice or the water regularly, and it's an excellent probiotic. Sauerkraut is an excellent probiotic, and try to add that to all your meals. If not all your meals, at least add them to one meal in a day. So that's that. And going back to the other things I was saying, so garlic was one. Then there is turmeric. And turmeric is especially important when you have RA and you have pain. So turmeric is good not only for reducing inflammation, but it actually helps to reduce the pain levels too. But for it to have a material impact on the pain levels, you need to have high enough dose. So you could have capsules of curcumin, which are good brands, which have like good bioavailability. However, you could just use organic turmeric if you are okay, drinking it and you don't have a problem with the taste. You can do that. You can also mix it with coconut milk, with warm coconut milk, so that it dissolves properly and you can have it. So I recommend at least 1 teaspoon of turmeric a day to reduce inflammation. If you have a lot of inflammation and a lot of pain, you can take 1 teaspoon up to 3 times a day. So basically with every meal you can take about 1 teaspoon. And as I said, you could mix it with half a cup of warm coconut milk, or you can mix it with water and add some extra virgin olive oil in it, so that helps it to become more bioavailable in the body. So curcumin or turmeric is the other thing. Some people might experience some mild diarrhea if they have too much of it. So if 3 teaspoons is becoming too much for you, cut it down to 2 if you're facing diarrhea. But if you don't have any diarrhea, then take 3 teaspoons a day, and that will help your pain. Okay, so that was garlic, turmeric, and then the next thing is ginger. So ginger also has anti-inflammatory properties. The best way I like to use ginger is by chopping up ginger and adding it to all my vegetable sautés or curries, or even soups. Incorporate ginger, but make sure you are consuming a good chunk of ginger, like a fresh piece of ginger, like 1 inch by 2 inch piece of ginger every day. So for that, to consume that much of a quantity, I my recommendation is have a glass of fresh vegetable juice every day, and in that you add that piece of ginger while you are making the fresh juice. You could make this juice using celery, cucumbers, greens, like spinach, and any other vegetables you can think of. You could even add a small half a piece of apple so that it becomes a little sweet and the juice is tasty. And beets you can add, and that's great. So make this vegetable juice and add ginger to it and drink it every single day. So these are other things that will help reduce your pain and inflammation.
To quickly summarize, eat lots and lots of vegetables. Try to make your diet as nutrient dense as possible. Eat good quality protein with grass-fed beef, chicken, as well as fish. And also use good fats in your meal like coconut oil, ghee, as well as extra virgin olive oil. Use also other foods like fermented vegetables and also turmeric, ginger, and garlic. Now, foods to avoid include all grains and legumes. Now, except for vegetarians, where they can have a little bit of quinoa and mung and mang dal, but avoid all processed foods.